I want to ask you, how many Kevin Durant trades to the Celtics have you written in the last 48 hours, 24 hours?
In the last 24 hours, 3 or 4, I guess.
I was thinking it would be like one, because like, you make your one fake trade and then like that's the one fake trade.
No. Well, I did earlier today. I wrote 3 trades that land Durant on the Celtics. And yesterday I wrote this trade lands Durant on the Celtics. Right. So there's a few iterations.
So of those 4 fake trades you just had to write, which one was your favorite / most realistic? Or I mean, either one. I don't care if it's your favorite one or most realistic. It could be 2 different things.
No, probably one and the same, which is just the classic. It's like classic Coke instead of RC Cola. It's just Brown, Smart, and 3 picks. Man, that's I would say both, because really for me, realistic and favorite are practically synonyms, because the more realistic I feel the trade is, the happier I am with it. Right.
True artist. Sometimes I really like trades that like have no chance of happening, but it's just like there's so many moving parts and it's so creative that like if you were to show it to an NBA general manager, they'd be like, does this work? And I'd be like, the trade machine says it works. And he's like, let's do it. Like,
you're right. Yeah. I know what you mean.
Because it's sometimes I feel like teams are like, this trade is so crazy and it works. We got to just do this. We just got like, this is art.
I did write one earlier that had Brown coming to Houston and all of Brooklyn's picks except for one going back to Brooklyn, as well as 3 picks from Boston. So they're getting like, I guess it was 7 or 8 picks / pick swaps.
Honestly,
Celtics get Durant, Rockets get Brown.
Honestly, I think the Nets would be interested in that, just because like, as we've seen, the best way to go into a rebuild is to basically have your picks and just take other picks, and so you can be bad and your picks can be valuable.
Whatever happens with the other team's picks is just kind of like icing, right? Or you're just rolling the dice.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so this Kevin Durant to the Boston Celtics, which is reported by both Shams, Shamalinga Ding Dong, and Wojnarowski, the 2 preeminent NBA reporters, at least on Twitter. I'm sure there are other guys that do stuff that don't do Twitter, but if you're not on Twitter now, like, what the fuck are you doing?
Where are you?
Yeah. Do you even exist? So this one I think is hilarious because, James, not in your wildest dreams, I think even you would write a fake trade, and you write a lot of fake trades, but I doubt you'd even write a fake trade or consider a fake trade with these parameters, because it is in itself so ridiculous. Jaylen Brown, Derek White, and a 1st-round pick for Kevin Durant, flat out. That's what's reported. What does that tell you about the validity of these trade talks? Because if that's the trade that's getting reported, that kind of doesn't sound like they're actually engaged in trade talks.
Oh, I don't know. I see your point. I see your argument. But I mean, I guess a good negotiator starts from a low ball, realistically, right? So, I mean, the Celtics said, we'll give you Brown, White, and a pick. Brooklyn says, no way. We'll do Brown, Smart, and 3 picks. Then if I'm Boston, I say, well, how about Brown, White, and 3 picks? And then you just try to whittle something down from that.
Well, should Boston do that? Do you think Boston should do the more realistic of the 3, kind of the Brown, White, Smart, between 2 and 3 picks?
I don't know if Brown and White, if Smart and White works contractually. I can find out really quickly. I have the trade machine open.
Well, maybe like, they throw in like, another guy, like maybe they want to get rid of Joe Harris and like, so it's like Durant.
Okay.
Joe Harris,
all right. Okay. Like... Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'll put it this way. I think that Brown, Smart, and 3 first-round picks is probably about as good as the Nets are going to do for Durant. And I'll elaborate on that if you want.
Yeah, definitely elaborate.
Yeah, of course. Well, because here's the thing. Like, okay, here's an analogy, right? Suppose the Louvre announced that they were going to sell the Mona Lisa, right? So in theory, I mean, the Mona Lisa is probably worth billions of dollars, right? Like the market would explode even trying to evaluate the Mona Lisa, right? It's worth infinite money, it's worth all the money. We'll take all the money. And so it in itself sets a price point that can't be met, right? And that's kind of what's happening with Durant. So like, I don't think that Brown, Smart, and 3 picks is like really great value for Kevin Durant, but none of the other offers that have been floated around are a whole lot more enticing, you know? Like the Raptors seem unwilling to do Scotty Barnes, which personally I think they should be unwilling to do. They can wait until after January 15th when Aiton's restrictions expire if they prefer Aiton, Bridges, and like 4 picks. But I mean, Jaylen Brown is still the best player out of that grouping, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like what are they going to get that's better than this? Last thing I'll say, the Heat can't do Bam Adebayo as long as Ben Simmons is on the roster. Now, I mean, the Nets could package Durant and Simmons for like Adebayo, Hero, Lowry, and Robinson, but that's bad value. They could just trade Simmons separately, right,
Yeah.
and get better value, or just keep Simmons because if they're getting Jaylen Brown, it's a good fit. So they're kind of backed into a corner. Durant is almost too valuable, right? Like, yeah, they're gonna have to accept pennies on the dollar. They're just hoping that it's 75 cents instead of 25.
Yeah, I do think the Durant being too valuable is like a real thing, but because he's got 4 years left on the deal and you have none of your picks coming up, like you have to get this trade right. Like this is the most important thing. So I think the Nets they won't panic because I think it's like at the end of the day, it's like if the Rockets get a really good pick out of this, that's fine. But like what we can't do is be worried about the Rockets getting a good pick going out this season to the point where like we're not actually getting anything back to rebuild the team down the line. And I think like they won't panic. And that's why I think Durant, from what all the reporting I've seen, will just stay there for a while. I will say, I know Jaylen Brown tweeted, what was it? Shaking my head, SMH.
Yep.
Yeah. Look, man, Jaylen Brown is not that good. If you give up Jaylen Brown to get Kevin Durant as like that's the headliner, that is a massive win for the Celtics. Like that is a massive win. Those two guys are not in the same category. I mean, can we be honest about Jaylen Brown? This dude has made one All-Star team. And he's not a guy who's like missed a ton of time, right? He's made one All-Star team playing for a very popular team. It's not like, a very popular team that usually is winning a fair amount of games. We're not talking about a player that people don't know about because he's like, wasting away, putting up good numbers in Orlando that's not making the playoffs. Like he's on the fucking Celtics who are making the playoffs and he is well known. He's made one All-Star team. He's never made an All-NBA team. He's 25 and he'll turn 26 in October, right? Like people say he's still in his prime. He's still in his prime, but like one of the things people forget is that like most guys, like they like have either had their best season or are about to have their best season. And most guys don't take incredible jumps at this stage in their career. It happens, but it's very, very unlikely. I'm talking about a guy who had his best season last year, 2.5 box plus minus, really good player, 3.2 offensive box plus minus, but he had his best shooting season in the best shooting environment in league history. I think his defensive reputation is a little bit better than the actual production, but he's also like a real two-way guy. He is not a guy you just attack. Has no passing ability, no ball handling ability. So he really can't be a lead option on offense. So his value is limited. He's not that good. If you're the Nets and he's all you're getting back, or he's even the headliner, you get Derek White and Marcus Smart, that's still a bad deal for the Nets.
Let me say a couple things about it. I mean, and you're definitely not entirely wrong, but I will say that I do think Brown has late bloomer qualities to an extent, right? He came into
Yeah.
the league, super raw, really just like an athletic guy that couldn't do much of anything. He's got really impressive shot creation abilities, like he hits the toughies, and when you get into the postseason, that does start to count a little bit more. We saw that in the finals run, like realistically, he was the best player in the finals, which is crazy to say. You don't think so?
So his passing number, like Tatum did not shoot well, but like his passing creation numbers were like actually pretty good. And like to me, if you watch that series, it's like Brown had a better statistical looking series than Tatum because the Warriors were okay with Brown having easier opportunities than Tatum. And
He was
like
hitting tough shots
no,
though.
well, the Warriors are a great defense, right? Like,
Yeah.
they're going to force everyone to take great shot or take tough shots. I'm just saying it's like he's one of these guys where he's like, I don't see him as being, if he's the best player on your team / he's the guy who's in charge of making your offense work. I don't think it looks very good. He's like,
That's quite likely.
and I think it's one of those things where like he looks good in the finals because Tatum is absorbing more defensive attention, giving him the opportunities. He's taking and hitting tough shots, but there's a difference between taking and hitting a tough shot when you're playing off of someone, and then when like you are the guy tasked with creating stuff. And man, we talked all finals long. Like, I don't know how people forgot. Have you watched him dribble a basketball? I mean, good God, it looks like JaVale McGee.
Yeah, it's not good. Let me just say this: if he is a late bloomer, right? If that hunch has any validity to it, he's a handle away from being really good. Like for what that's worth, So it's something to think about in that respect. But also, what I would counter to you with really is like, tell me what the Nets could hope to get that's better. Like if you can think of an example, I'd love to hear it.
So this is my example. We don't know yet. And I think that's the point. They got Durant for 4 more seasons. They don't need to rush this. And when Durant dropped the "I want to be traded" thing, I think it caught everyone by surprise. And what we've seen time and time again is teams kind of organize their cap sheet, their player acquisitions, their draft capital, knowing when guys might become available, knowing when guys are going to be free agents, when guys are getting to like the last 2 years of their contract and they're like, okay, like this is a guy we'd want to target. No one saw Durant asking for this. So no one was prepared and, taking a season, an off season to get the ammunition to go get him. And I think that's the issue with the Durant thing. And I think if the Nets know that, they're just going to say the best offer no one's even thought of because it hasn't really been assembled yet. And we have the time to do it. And I think that's what they'll do because at the end of the day, does Durant want to waste one of his last peak seasons sitting on the bench because he demanded a trade? He can. It's within his right. But does he want to do that? And I think if you're the Nets, you say, look, man, we will trade you when a real offer comes up. No one can do it because guess what? You're Kevin freaking Durant and you're that good. We're going to wait. You're going to hoop. And we're going to win a ton of games and you're going to change your mind. Like, I just think that's the best. I think that's like the best option. Or maybe you don't change your mind. And, we win 55 games. We lose in, the conference finals, second round. And you're like, I still want out. And then we'll move you because teams will be like, we can get Kevin Durant. No one was ready to get him. And if you're not ready to go for a guy like Durant, like he is someone that takes multiple off seasons to create a package to get, especially if you're a team like the Nets who can't do what the Jazz do, where they're like, look, like us being bad is the point because our picks are coming
in. Here's my only concerns about all that, which is otherwise logical, but like, well, Durant is 33 and he's turning 34 this year, right? So at the end of the year, he'll be 34, entering into his age 35 season. So the trade value in my mind declines. Like, it's not like Simmons where the Sixers were like, well, we'll trade him in 3-4 years if we have to. He'll still be in his prime. It's like there's a possibility that his value declines, especially if his play slips at all, right? And then, furthermore, I guess you just run the risk of injury. If he's out there playing for the Nets in spite of not wanting to be there and stuff, and then he suffers a season-long injury, like, well, now you're getting nothing, or like not nothing, but like it's gonna be that much harder to get a trade, and you've got a bigger problem on your hands. So like, but they can't settle for pennies on the dollar either. So you have a point. It depends on how they assess Jaylen Brown and if they think Jaylen Brown can be more than he's been so far.
Yeah. So I'll just put it to you this way: Durant the last 2 seasons, 7.2 box plus minus.
Oh yeah.
That was this past season. That was the 6th best in the NBA, right?
Oh, he's still one of the best players in the NBA, but sometimes decline happens swiftly, right?
I know, but here's the thing: the season before 7.2 would have had him at like 8 or 9, right? We're talking about a guy, and he's also someone that like I think his style of play and his usefulness goes up in the playoffs,
definitely
compared to the regular season. We're talking about a top 5 guy. And so it's like okay, so his play declines. Let's say he drops off massively. A 2 point box plus minus drop is a massive drop. Drop down to 5.2. Guess that would have had him at 13th 2 seasons ago. It would have had him, let's see, last season, where would that have him? At about 5.2. That would have had him at 13, tied with Trae Young. I mean, like, that's the thing, is where it's like, even if he suffers a massive drop off, he's still a game changing player. And
What
he's
about
got a
injury
skill set
stuff?
that's almost there is the injury thing, but like there's the injury thing for everyone. And at a certain point, teams that want to win a championship say, hey, if he's healthy in the playoffs, because Durant was healthy in the playoffs these last 2 playoff runs against the Celtics, he lost, but the season before, he was the only guy that was healthy. What do you do?
Yeah, but that's 2 seasons removed by if you let next year run, right, and you're entering into 23, 24, I don't think you look at 2021 and say like, well, he was great then. I'm just not sure, and like, and I'll say this, his style of play ought to age well, no question in my mind about that. But he is getting older and he does have injury history. So
Yeah.
like I would say, yeah, it's true that injuries are a factor for every player, but he's a little bit higher risk though.
Yes. I just, a guy who's not relying on getting to the rim, awesome in the mid range, basically an unblockable shot due to his height. He's just someone that I think is going to age well. But regardless, I think here's the way I'd also put it. You're getting lowballed. Let's say his play declines. Those lowball offers will be fair offers at that point, and then you could just take them anyways.
Well, but what if the Celtics say, you know what, we're not really willing to include Smart anymore, and we want to include one less pick, so now it's Brown, Derek White, and 2 picks.
Then you don't trade him to the fucking Celtics. You just
But
trade him.
well, okay, well then the Suns say we'll give you Mikal Bridges and 3 picks, but Aiton's off the table. Like what if everybody's offers decline?
Then you don't trade him. I mean, look, at the end,
But he
of the
wants
day,
to be traded, right? Like what if he says I'm not playing anymore? Then you have nothing.
if you want to be fucking traded, you don't sign the 4-year deal. And especially, what you don't do is you don't sign the 4-year deal with no player option. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like they hold the cards, and it's like, look, you're talking about worst case scenarios if they don't trade him. You know what the worst case scenario is? Him asking for the trade in the first place. They're already there. Like, if it gets worse, fine, whatever. I think we want a move to happen because it's fun and exciting. And like, that's what the media does. Like, we talk about stuff, but at the end of the day, it's like, they're the Nets. Like, this is the future of their franchise. They cannot fuck this up. And maybe holding on to him is messing it up, but also selling low on him right now is messing it up for sure. And I would rather hold on to the hope that someone panics and gives you an offer that you cannot refuse.
It's a tricky one, right?
Yeah.
It's a tricky one. Let's move on because we can talk about that all day. I think.
I know, for real. There's so many things.